Proszę Noan! Show garden.
So yeah, we are a seed savers organization. The aim of our organization is to preserve and also develop crop plant diversity. My name is Klaus. I'm working in the seed bank, the seed archive of our organization, where we maintain around 5,500 different varieties or accessions, gene bank accessions of crop plants. The seed trade in Europe is quite heavily regulated, so there are some legal boundaries, and there is now a proposal of a new version of the EU seed legislation, and industry players are maybe trying to restrict seed diversity even more and the possibilities to trade and to swap seeds. To register seeds in the current system, the cultivars, the varieties, they have to be uniform and they have to be stable. If you grow a crop on a field, then every plant looks just like the other plant.
Okay.
And in older land races, varieties that are sometimes have a big history and also some cultural significance maybe, and are oftentimes very well adapted to certain regions, ecoregions. They are a bit more diverse, they are not that uniform. That's also one of their assets, because if they are also genetically not that uniform, they are better able to adapt to changing environmental conditions and also changing climate. But this is one of the political goals also we have as an organization, to free these seeds. We can have a look at some plants here. This is, historically, this is the garden to the Schiltern Castle. With the pavilion up there, it's just this Baroque ensemble. It's mostly, what you see here is mostly for really seed growing, seed production, to increase, to maintain our collection, but also for sometimes educational purposes and for trialing also new varieties, new species, comparing different varieties. This is kind of a basil. It's an Ocimum species. Different accessions. They are looking very similar, but this is a kind of a trial. We like to compare different origins of this Tulsi. The cereals are some older varieties. And this here is not really an old variety, but it's a species that is typical for this region. It's very well adapted to dry environments, and it's growing wild around here. And I like if people incorporate native plants from their environment into their ornamental gardens.
Yes.
This is your goal as well with the show garden, is basically to open as well the opportunity for, let's say, normal people to come here, buy your seeds on the shop, and just increase this diversity on a small scale as well.
Yes, the garden and also the garden in Langenlois, it's mainly for seed production and to show people how seed production can be done. And we also have a small team for courses, workshops, and people can also come here to get ideas what to do with their gardens. This is a lettuce flowering. In this case, it's a trial of different stem lettuce varieties that our colleagues from the variety development team, the breeding team, have planned. It's a kind of lettuce where you do not necessarily eat the leaves. The main product is another organ. It's the stem actually. You eat the fleshy, the succulent stem of these lettuces.
Okay.
And everything you have exposed here, do you sell them in your shop?
So in our seed bank, in our archive, we have these bit more than 5,000 different varieties. If we have a surplus of seeds of certain varieties and the quality is all right and it's an interesting variety for gardeners maybe, then we sell them in our shop.
Okay.
And we also have some varieties that are specifically produced by small organic farmers from our network just for seed sale. We are basically financed by our members, by the member fees, and also by donations, by small donations of many people who really help us. We also have a network of volunteer seed savers, seed stewards, who also do increasings for us and steward varieties and send back seeds to us, who do this voluntarily in their gardens. And this is great because then we also have different soils, different environments, different climates. With some species here in the rather dry and warm east of Austria, we have rather a challenging grow outs. And if we then have members, maybe more in the alpine regions, who can then do the seed saving of our alpine collection, then this is a great great help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to volunteer in the Seed Savers Network, if you have a home garden with a little bit of space, because of course to maintain the genetic integrity of a variety, you need quite a lot of plants.
Okay.
Usually it's good to plant different species to have a certain diversity and a nicer ecosystem, let's say. But it's for seed saving, it's oftentimes good if you have only one variety of one species, because then the risk of getting varieties mixed and cross-pollinated is less.
Yeah, okay.
Is there any time of the year where you actually need more volunteers?
Yes, in the garden we have some periods where really a lot of work needs to be done. The weeding and also hand pollinations. We can also then, if you like, go to the squashes. It's kind of like a zucchini, like a courgette.
I see one here. This one, yes.
And we have different varieties of the same species growing next to each other. So this means they are cross-pollinate. These are cross-pollinating species. The bees, they go from one plant to another, and it gets all mixed up. So we have to hand pollinate. This can be done with a tape. Keep the flower closed. So these will be open tomorrow.
Yes.
And you keep it closed so that no bee gets in there.
Can go inside.
And then you take it and just put the pollen from the male flower on the stigma of the female flower. Then you close it again, and
to make sure there is no cross-pollination.
Then even after the pollination, no bee should get in there.
By doing this, you are sure that you are preserving the.
We keep the variety. This is quite an old crop. It's a really nice root vegetable, but it's quite challenging to grow it. Many of the roots are rather small, but there is ongoing selection work to increase the size of the roots to a size that was already described in the 19th century. You can buy the roots in the gourmet shops in Vienna. It has a growing history in Austria too, and we hope that in the future maybe more farms will start
come back to it,
producing this one. Yeah, these are different Anquan origins here, quite an old cereal. This one here is really
Is an eclecta.
a wild crop relative. Something very similar as this grass is part of the ancestry of our bread wheat.
Okay.
And I really like how it looks actually. And we are only growing this for educational purposes. So these are isolation tunnels.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
basically like like tunnels you know in vegetable production, but these have a net, so the air can flow
Go
through
through.
it.
Yes.
But insects cannot, from the outside, cannot go in there and
Okay.
cross-pollinate different varieties of the same species. Yeah, we still need insects in there, of course. They are insect pollinated, so the garden team gets some bee or fly species in there. You can buy them and put them in there.
And they stay always inside.
They stay inside and are happy with the flowers.
And
they
they've
find
got
in there.
everything they need just in this area.
And then they lay their eggs again and complete their cycle, and the plants complete theirs. And
Whoa, okay.
now this is a wild carrot. This is one of the reasons why we have to grow our carrots in the second year when they flower in the isolation units, because everywhere around wild carrots are growing, and they would
Okay.
cross, and
Yes.
then of course the varietal integrity, purity would be compromised. These are, as you can tell, tomatoes, but it's quite an interesting plot, I think, because these are all different varieties, but also newer breeding lines, still in selection, of anthocyanin-rich tomatoes. So all with these really dark purple outside coloring.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And there will then also be tastings again and selection of the nicest plants and fruits and most flavorful fruits to develop new varieties that are well adapted to organic growing conditions, that look nice, that also have these purple anthocyanins that may also have a positive health effect, also taste nice. Yeah, you can make pizza there and you can read some books over there. There is a little library. And
Yes, so people actually come here and spend an afternoon or the evening.
yeah, they can take a book here and just go down the cherry trees. Yeah, this is an open kitchen where you can have a drink, just spend some hours.
It's so nice.
It's so nice. I like this area.
These are many apples, yeah. There are some pears, there is a peach, and in the back there is also some other apricot trees. You will also see the bees. You can also buy apple juice in our shop of old varieties where the varieties have been pressed separately, which is also interesting, where you have then juice of different old varieties, but not mixed together, but really pure.
Yeah.
Welcome to our working collection of our seed archive. So we call this the working collection. It's the room for short-term and mid-term storage of seeds in these glass bottles. And we also have in the next room a freezing chamber for really the long-term storage at -19 degrees. 5,500 different seed propagated variety successions. These are different cereals. Many of them are alpine land races. Maize, corn is in the back. The most important thing for storage of seeds is that the seeds are really dry. So we help us by using a silica gel to really get them into a nice dry
Okay.
state. The second most important thing probably is that not much oxygen gets to the seeds.
Okay.
Oxygen really is responsible for seed aging. On the beans, you often can see that older beans get more brown with time, which is also an oxidation process. And you can see here, this is the same accession, same variety from 2003, 2014, and 2019.
Yeah.
And
The oldest, the newest.
the newest is really nice yellow. It's already starting a
Yeah.
bit to get more brownish and darker.
Yeah.
And if you would now take a sample of the harvest from 2003 from the freezing chamber and cut it open, where there wasn't any oxygen, where it was frozen all the time, it would probably look really yellow and not brown at all. We have this seen several times.
Because there is still oxygen in the butter.
There is still oxygen
That's
in
why
there, yeah. And we have, for example, this year, seeds of tomatoes and of radish from the 1990s. We were able to get them to germinate
It's
from
impressive.
these bottles. In the freezing chamber, it's usually they should keep for several decades actually. But in these glass bottles, it's not always the case, but it can work too. These are surplus seeds, so everything with the green labels, what we sell in the shop. If we have a surplus and if it's a sufficient quantity and a sufficient quality, of course, we do germination tests and we check for seed health, of course.
How do you check the health of the seeds?
It starts with the seeds that you use for growing. We also do some apple hot water seed treatments. This is one of the things we do. Then we check for plant health in the gardens. And on the seeds visually, and also we see then in the germination tests often if there are some fungal growth, for example. Sometimes we also send samples to a national laboratory and they do microbiological tests. Yeah, the blue labels here, they are seeds of these varieties that are permanently in the shop. And these are produced by small farmers in our network, organic farmers.
Okay.
And of course, they get paid.
Yeah.
But we also have a volunteer network of mostly home gardeners who have increased or have grown some of the seeds here. On the labels you see who did what.
It's not just you guys and your team doing the work, it's as well the whole
It's a big network.
the whole community.
Yeah, it's a community.
Yeah. And it's open to everyone. For example, we can come and have workshops and learn how to make our own garden better, and after start exchanging, it's accessible to everyone.
This
That's,
is one goal of our organization.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously, the more people are doing this, the more we are increasing the diversity.
Yeah,
at the end
increasing the
of the day.
diversity, increasing food security,
Yeah,
and seed sovereignty.
yeah.
I really wonder how long does it take to collect this in 2021?
Yeah.
Everything is done by hand.
And usually when the pots they are rather dry, they cut the plants and let it dry a bit more, and then they thresh it. So you can do it with a machine, but you can collect the seeds, and then you have a mixture of seeds and plant debris, and then you can sieve and blow away the lighter plant material, and then in the end you have the clean seed. But it takes some time and some experience, but it's not that every pot has to be opened by hand.
Yeah, every plant has a different process. You have different process for each of them.
Yes.
This storage is really amazing. Really.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Troisième élément de notre équipe. Je peux donner un nom. C'est du
Rosemary.
rosemary.
Romarin.
On va voir sa survie.
Et ouais, bien sûr.
Voilà. Pauvre bébé.